Hello, Mr. Wood. Welcome to JB11. This lesson is all about the Messiah. Our objectives today are to find out what's meant by the Messiah and the Messianic Age, and we're going to be looking at different Jewish responses and interpretations of both. You need to know today, you need to know that Jews believe that God is going to send a Savior, the Messiah, who's going to come and make the world right. And the different Jews, Orthodox and Reform, interpret this in different ways. In our previous lesson, JB10, we looked at the key moral principles in Judaism. One of those was tikkun olam, which means healing the world or repairing the world. In Genesis 1, we see that the world is good, it's a perfect place, but it's no longer perfect. And so Jews see it as everyone's responsibility to make the world right again. This is really important in this topic because one of the ideas of the Messiah is the Messiah is going to come in some variety, in some way, and is going to make the world right again. If we rewind right back to JB1, the very first lesson on Judaism, we said that the way to differentiate the main way between Jews and Christians is their understanding of the person of Jesus of Nazareth. Jews do not believe that Jesus was the Messiah, whereas Christians do. That is the whole movement of Christianity, is that they recognize Jesus of Nazareth as the long-awaited Messiah of Judaism, and that by following him, they believe they can get to God. However, Jews do not believe that Jesus of Nazareth was the Messiah. Let's have a look at some key beliefs about the Messiah. Firstly, the word Messiah in Hebrew, Mashiach, literally means anointed one. And it was a title used for kings in the Tanakh. When a king was chosen, they would be anointed with oil. And this is where this word comes from. The Messiah, Mashiach, anointed one. We have a series of bad kings recorded in the Tanakh. Kings who were greedy, kings who were unjust, kings who ruled unfairly. And during this string of bad kings, there were lots of prophecies made about a coming king, a coming savior, a coming Messiah who would come down and would rule justly and would rule with righteousness and would rule God's way. When we look at the teaching of our man Maimonides, again, he has 13 fundamental Jewish beliefs, and one of them is belief in the Messiah. We can see that the Messiah is an important belief for most Jews, as in the Amidah prayer, which Jews do every single day, it is referenced in there. So that's something they're thinking about every single day. A couple of controversies. One is that when he's going to arrive is really speculated between different groups of Jews. So some Jews think that when everything's good and when all Jews are following the mitzvot and going in the right direction, he's going to arrive. Others think that it's more likely he's going to arrive when Jews are far from where they should be and make everything right. And finally, a really key belief about the Messiah is that he's going to be the one to bring in the Messianic age. And we're going to look at that in a couple of slides' time. So what's the nature of the Messiah? Now we use this expression, what's the nature of, often in our rests. The exam board, they talk about the nature of marriage, the nature of God. And when we're talking about the nature, it literally means, hey, what's it like? So if you get that in an exam, what is the nature of? It's saying, what is it like? So the nature of the Messiah, what's the Messiah like? We know from prophecies in the Tanakh that the Messiah is going to be born of human parents, that the Messiah is going to be a descendant of the great king, King David. The Messiah is going to fully understand and observe the mitzvot. We know from previous lesson that the mitzvot has got different interpretations from different Jews, but the Messiah is going to fully understand it and going to be able to observe and follow the mitzvot as it should be followed. The Messiah is going to be a charismatic leader, one that's sent by God. It's going to be a leader who's there to judge. And it's a leader whom the other world leaders will go to for advice. And finally, we know the Messiah is going to bring in the Messianic age. So what is the Messianic age? Well, there's some descriptions here of what the Messianic age is going to be like. And I've included with them a Bible passage which shows where that idea comes from. So firstly, we get the idea from the Tanakh that the Messiah is going to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. And there's a verse there from Ezekiel, I will put my sanctuary among them forever. We know that the Messiah is going to gather all of Israel together, Deuteronomy. Even if you've been banished to the most distant lands under the heavens, from there the Lord your God will gather you and bring you back. We know that the Messiah will bring about world peace. There's a fantastic statue here, which is made from this Bible verse. But in Isaiah chapter 2, verse 4, it says, the Messiah, he will judge between the nations, and he will settle disputes for many people. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. And so Jews believe the Messiah is going to bring about world peace. When the Messiah comes in the Messianic age, everyone's going to worship God. We can see here from Zechariah chapter 14, verse 9, the Lord will be king over the whole earth. On that day there will be one Lord, and his name the only name. And finally, when the Messiah comes, there will be the resurrection of the dead. And we've got that classic verse there from Daniel chapter 12. Many of them that sleep in the land of the dust shall awake. Right, let's pause here and check your understanding. Pause the video, have a go at these, got some quick questions and then some with some more detail. And then when you're ready, unpause the video and we can look at the answers. So on this slide, I've included the nature of the Messiah, what's the Messiah like, and also the description of the Messianic age. Now, if you look at these things, you can see why Jews believe the Messiah has not yet arrived, and why Jews believe that Jesus of Nazareth was not the Messiah. Just to pull out a couple of things, the temple in Jerusalem is still destroyed and hasn't been rebuilt, and there's no world peace at the moment. You open a newspaper, you're going to see very quickly that there's not world peace right now. And so for Jews, they're still waiting for the Messiah to arrive. So we rewind all the way back to our first lesson in this series, JB1, Introduction to Judaism and the Nature of God. We talked about the different groups of Jews inside of Judaism. And we said we'd be focusing specifically in these lessons on Orthodox Jews and Reform Jews. When it comes to belief in the Messiah, because we know the Messiah hasn't arrived yet, different groups of Jews have different interpretations as to what the Messiah is and what belief in the Messiah should look like. So Orthodox Jews, to start with, they take a literal interpretation of the idea of the Messiah. They are literally still waiting for a man to arrive who's going to be a leader, a just leader, one who can understand the mitzvot, one who can get all Jews following it, one who's going to rebuild the temple, who's going to bring about world peace. Everything we had on those lists, they are waiting for still to happen. And they take it very literally. Reform Jews, on the other hand, take a more metaphorical understanding of the Messiah. They say that the world isn't perfect, but we shouldn't be waiting for someone to turn up and fix it. Actually, it's the responsibility of all of us to take part in Tikkun Olam, to repair the world. And many Reform Jews see the Messiah as a time when all Jews work together to that end, effectively, that all Jews will be working together for world peace. All Jews are going to be working together for everyone to understand the mitzvot and be united. So a couple of questions there and a great article to read if you fancy it. Pause the video, have a go, unpause it when you're ready for the answers. Okay, let's check your understanding. Two contrasting views about the nature and role of the Messiah in Judaism. You might have written hopefully something like, Orthodox Jews take a literal interpretation of the Messiah. For example, they expect the Messiah will rebuild the temple and achieve world peace. On the other hand, Reform Jews take a more metaphorical view of the Messiah, and they believe it's every Jew's responsibility to work towards repairing the world. Number 7, why do Jews not think that Jesus of Nazareth was the Messiah? Potentially because some of the prophecies about the Messiah don't fit Jesus in their understanding, or the Messianic age. So they might say the Messianic age hasn't come about, look, we haven't got world peace, therefore Jesus cannot have been the Messiah. And then hopefully you had a read of that article too. And so as we come to the end of the lesson, let's revisit our need to know. You need to know that Jews believe God is going to send a Savior, the Messiah, who's going to come down and make the world as it should be. And Orthodox and Reform Jews interpret the Messiah in different ways. See you next time.